You're a liar, the man said. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was low, smooth, and cold enough to freeze the blood in Amara's veins. Amara stood in the center of the penthouse office, her hands trembling as she clutched the edge of her oversized coat. On the mahogany desk between them lay a small plastic stick. 2 pink lines. I'm not lying, Jae-Sun, she whispered, her voice cracking. I took the test 3 times. I went to the clinic this morning. We're having a baby. Jae-Sun, the man who had held her with such desperation just weeks ago, the man who had whispered that she was the only peace he had ever found in his violent life, didn't even look at the test. He looked at her, and the look in his eyes wasn't love. It was disgusted amusement. He stood up, walking slowly around the desk. He looked like a king in his tailored suit, powerful and untouchable. He stopped right in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, sandalwood, and steel. You really did your homework, didn't you? He said, tilting his head. You saw the expensive suits. You saw the cars. You heard the rumors about my family's money. And you thought I can trap him. You thought a simple waitress from the wrong side of the tracks could pin a baby on the heir to the Dragon Syndicate. No, Amara pleaded, reaching out to touch his arm. He recoiled as if she were contagious. Jae-Sun, look at me. You know me. You know I don't care about your money. I saved your life. Why would I lie about this? Jae-Sun let out a short, harsh laugh. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a gold money clip, and tossed a thick stack of bills onto the floor at her feet. Because everyone wants something, Amara. And you almost had me fooled. I actually thought you were different. His face hardened, the mask of the ruthless Mafia Don slipping back into place. But you made one critical mistake in your little scam. He leaned in, his lips brushing her ear. I can't have children. Amara froze. The room seemed to tilt. What? I am sterile, Jae-Sun stated flatly, pulling back to watch the color drain from her face. My family doctor confirmed it years ago. It is a medical fact. So, whatever is growing inside of you, it isn't mine. And I won't let you pin another man's bastard on my legacy. That can't be right, Amara stammered, tears finally spilling over. There's been no one else. Jae-Sun, I swear on my mother's grave, there has been no one else. Get out, he barked, turning his back on her. Take the money on the floor for your troubles. Consider it a severance package. But if I ever see you again, I won't be a gentleman. I'll be the monster the newspapers say I am. Amara looked at the money scattered on the Persian rug. She looked at the man she loved, the man who had just shattered her heart into a million pieces based on a lie she didn't understand. She didn't bend down. She didn't take a single dollar. She wiped her eyes, chin trembling, but head high. You're wrong, she said, her voice gaining a sudden, quiet strength. One day, you're going to know exactly how wrong you are. And by then, it will be too late. She turned and walked out the heavy oak doors. As the elevator doors closed, shutting her out of his world forever, Jae-Sun stared at the city skyline, pouring himself a drink. His hand shook, just once. He downed the amber liquid, drowning the small voice in his head that sounded like regret. He trusted the facts. He trusted his doctor. He trusted his family. He had no idea that the family he trusted was the very reason he was about to lose everything. Outside the building, the rain was coming down in sheets. Amara stepped onto the sidewalk, shivering. She wrapped her arms around her stomach. She had no job, no money, and now she was carrying the child of a man who wished her dead. Across the street, parked in a black sedan with tinted windows, a pair of eyes watched her. Minho, Jae-Sun's younger brother, lowered the binoculars and smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just watched a trap snapshot. He picked up his phone and dialed. Did it work? The voice on the other end asked. Perfectly, Minho replied, watching Amara struggle to open her umbrella against the wind. He kicked her out. He bought the sterility lie hook, line, and sinker. The doctor earned his bribe today. And the girl? She's leaving, Minho said, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel. But we can't take any chances. If she gives birth to a boy, and if my brother ever sees that child's face, the DNA will be obvious. Jae-Sun isn't stupid. He'll figure it out. Minho's eyes went dark. Follow her. Wait until she leaves the city limits. Then make sure she disappears. I want the heir gone. Before we continue, If you are enjoying the story of betrayal and secrets, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us bring you more dramatic stories just like this one. Now let's go back to where it all began, to understand how a waitress and a Mafia King fell in love in the first place. 3 months earlier. The night they met, the air had smelled of ozone and copper. Amara was in the back alley of the Velvet Lotus, the high-end club where she worked double shifts to pay for nursing school. She was taking out the trash, humming a lullaby to herself to block out the noise of the bass thumping inside. She heard the crash first, then the groan. Behind a stack of crates, a man was slumped against the brick wall. He was wearing a suit that cost more than her tuition, but right now it was ruined. A dark stain was spreading rapidly across the white dress shirt. Amara dropped the trash bag. Most people would have run. Most people in this city knew that when you see a wounded man in a suit, you turn around and walk away unless you want to be collateral damage. But Amara was a nurse first and a civilian second. She rushed over, dropping to her knees on the wet pavement. "Sir? Can you hear me?" Jae-Sun's eyes flew open. Even in pain, they were terrifying. He gripped her wrist with a strength that made her gasp. "No police," he gritted out, his teeth stained with blood. "No hospitals." Amara looked at the wound. It was a knife slash, deep and jagged, just below his ribs. He was losing blood fast. "You need a doctor," she said firmly, trying to pry his hand off her wrist. "You're hemorrhaging. If I go to a hospital, my enemies will find me," he wheezed. His grip tightened. "Help me. Here." Amara looked around. The alley was dark. Rain was starting to spit from the sky. She looked at his face. Beneath the blood and the grit, he was beautiful, with sharp cheekbones and eyes that held a strange, desperate plea. "I can't do surgery in a dumpster," she snapped, her fear turning into focus. "Can you walk?" He nodded. She draped his arm over her shoulder. He was heavy, dead weight, but she managed to drag him into the staff storage room. It wasn't sterile, but it was dry. She locked the door and grabbed the first aid kit kept for kitchen accidents. It wasn't enough, but she had her own bag, her nursing practice kit with suture needles and clean thread. "This is going to hurt," she warned him, tearing open his shirt. Jae-Sun didn't flinch. He just watched her. He watched her hands, steady, confident, brown skin against his pale, bloodied chest. He watched the way she bit her lip in concentration. He watched the way she didn't tremble, even though she knew exactly who he was. Every waitress in the city knew the face of the Dragon Syndicate's heir. She cleaned the wound with vodka from the bar stock. He hissed, his body arching off the floor. "Breathe," she commanded, her voice soft now. "Look at me. Don't look at the blood. Look at me." He locked eyes with her. And for the next 20 minutes, while she stitched his skin back together, he didn't look away. It was the most intimate moment of his life. He had been with countless women, supermodels and heiresses, but none of them had ever seen him bleed. None of them had ever caused him pain to save him. When she tied the final knot and taped the gauze over his side, she sat back, wiping sweat from her forehead. "You're lucky," she breathed. It missed the liver by an inch. Jae-Sun lay there on the cold concrete floor, feeling lightheaded, but not from blood loss. "What is your name?" "Amara," she said, packing up her kit. "And you're Jae-Sun. Everyone knows who you are." "Amara," he tested the name. It sounded like a prayer. "Why did you save me, Amara? You could have let me die. The city would probably be safer if you had." Amara paused. She looked down at him, her eyes kind but tired. "Because you're a human being. And tonight, you are my patient. That's it." She stood up to leave, but he grabbed her hand. His skin was hot. "I owe you a life," he said intensely. "I pay my debts." "You don't owe me anything," she said, pulling her hand away gently. "Just try not to get stabbed again. It ruins the suit." She unlocked the door and left. She thought that was the end of it. She thought she would never see him again. She was wrong. 2 days later, the owner of the club called Amara into the VIP section. She thought she was being fired. Instead, she found the entire upper balcony empty. No other guests. Just one table. And sitting there, looking perfectly healed and impossibly handsome, was Jae-Sun. He gestured to the empty chair opposite him. "Sit." "I'm on the clock, sir," Amara said, clutching her serving tray. "I bought the clock," he replied smoothly. "I bought the whole night." "Sit." She sat. And they talked. He didn't treat her like a waitress. He asked her about nursing school. He asked about her dreams. He asked about the necklace she wore, a cheap silver locket. She told him about her mother, who had passed away working 2 jobs, and how she wanted to open a clinic for people who couldn't afford insurance. Jae-Sun listened. For the first time in years, the noise in his head stopped. Around her, he didn't have to be the boss. He didn't have to be the ruthless killer his father wanted him to be. They started meeting in secret. He would pick her up in nondescript cars. They would drive to the coast, park by the ocean, and just talk until the sun came up. He touched her like she was made of glass. He worshipped her. "I can't bring you into my world yet," he told her one night, running his hand through her curls as they lay in bed in a safe house outside the city. "It's too dangerous. My brother, my father, they wouldn't understand. Not yet. I don't need your world," Amara had whispered, resting her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I just need you." And that was the truth. They were happy. For 3 months, they existed in a bubble of perfect, forbidden love. But bubbles pop. Minho had been watching. The younger brother, the one who had always been second best, saw an opportunity. He saw Jae-Sun's weakness. The day Minho found out about the affair, he went to the family's private physician, Dr. Park. "My brother is going for a checkup next week," Minho said, placing a briefcase on the doctor's desk. He opened it. It was filled with untraceable cash. "I need you to tell him something. I need you to tell him that the childhood fever he had, it left him with complications." Dr. Park looked at the money, then at Minho. "What kind of complications?" "Tell him he's sterile," Minho smiled. "Tell him his sperm count is 0. Tell him he can never, ever father an heir." The doctor hesitated. "He will want tests." "Proof." "Then fake the tests," Minho hissed. "If Jae-Sun thinks he can't have children, he won't try to legitimize that waitress. And when our father dies, the empire goes to the son who can provide an heir. That will be me." The doctor took the money. And so, when Jae-Sun went in for his routine physical, his world was ended with a single medical file. He believed it. Why wouldn't he? It explained why none of his previous flings had ever resulted in pregnancy. It broke him, but he accepted it as his curse. Then, Amara walked in with a positive pregnancy test. To Jae-Sun, it wasn't a miracle. It was proof of betrayal. It was proof that the only woman he had ever trusted was just another liar. Back in the present, the rain was still pouring. Amara sat on a bench at the bus station. She was soaked to the bone. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her landlord. "Rent is due. If you don't pay by tomorrow, your stuff is on the curb." She laughed, a wet, choked sound. She didn't have rent. She didn't have an apartment. She had $60 in her pocket and a baby in her belly. She looked at the ticket counter. "1 ticket," she told the clerk, her voice hollow. "Where to?" the clerk asked, popping gum. Amara looked at the map on the wall. She pointed to a tiny dot, a town called Oakhaven 3 states away. It was in the middle of nowhere. No mafia. No skyscrapers. No Jae-Sun. "There," she said. "And I need a new SIM card." She was smart. She knew men like Jae-Sun. When they were done with you, you stayed done. But she also had a feeling in the pit of her stomach that she was being watched. As she boarded the Greyhound bus, she didn't see the man in the trench coat standing by the vending machines, speaking into a lapel microphone. "Target is mobile," the hitman whispered. "She's on bus 402. Do you want me to intercept?" In the comfort of his car, Minho watched the bus pull away. He considered it. He could have her killed right now. A tragic bus accident on the highway. Simple. Clean. But then he paused. If she disappeared now, Jae-Sun might get suspicious. No. Let her run. Let her suffer in poverty. Let her raise the bastard child in the dirt. As long as she never came back, she was no threat. "No," Minho said. "Let her go. If she ever tries to contact my brother, kill her. If she ever tries to come back, kill her. But for now, let the waitress fade away." The bus pulled out of the station. Amara rested her head against the cold window, watching the city lights blur into streaks of gold and red. She placed a hand on her stomach. "It's just you and me now, little one," she whispered. "I don't know how we're going to survive. But I promise you, he will never hurt us again." She closed her eyes, exhausted. She didn't know that 4 years later, the man she was running from would be the only thing standing between her and death. She didn't know that fate had a cruel sense of humor. Because the town she had picked? Oakhaven? It sat on top of the largest lithium deposit in the country. And in 4 years, Jae-Sun's company would be coming to buy it. The clock was ticking. The Secret Heir was growing. And the war between the brothers was only just beginning. The labor pains started at 3 a.m. in a motel room that smelled of stale cigarettes and pine cleaner. Amara didn't have a doula. She didn't have a private suite. She had a towel she had bitten through to keep from screaming and waking the neighbors. When the pain became too much, when she felt like her body was being torn in two, she didn't call out for God. She called out for him. Jae-Sun, she gasped into the dark, sweat matting her hair to her forehead. Please. I can't do this alone. But she was alone. And when the final push came, and the wail of new life pierced the silence of the night, there was no one to cut the cord but a paramedic who had kicked down the door after the motel manager called 911. They took her to the county hospital. It was charity care. The nurses were kind, but overworked. When they handed the bundle to her, wrapped in a scratchy blanket, Amara was terrified to look. She was terrified that she would see a stranger. Or worse, that she would see the man who hated her. She pulled back the blanket. The baby boy blinked up at her. He had her nose, soft and round. He had her mouth. But when he opened his eyes, Amara's breath hitched in her throat. They were sharp, almond-shaped, and dark as obsidian. They were intense. They were his eyes. Leo, she whispered, kissing the top of his head. My little lion. You're going to be strong. You have to be. For years went by in a blur of double shifts, daycare pickups, and constant, gnawing fear. Life in Oakhaven was quiet. It was a town that time forgot, nestled in a valley surrounded by dense forests. Amara went by the name Nia now. She worked at the Pit Stop, a diner frequented by truckers and locals who liked their coffee black and their questions limited. She was tired. Bone tired. But she was safe. Or so she thought. Leo was 4 now, and he was a handful. He was brilliant, far too smart for his age, and he had a temper that Amara recognized with a sinking heart every time it flared. When the other kids pushed him, Leo didn't cry. He got quiet. He calculated. And then he pushed back harder. Mama, when is my daddy coming? Leo asked one morning, sitting at the small kitchen table of their trailer, stabbing his fork into a waffle. Amara froze, the coffee pot hovering over her mug. It was the question she dreaded most. We talked about this, Leo, she said softly, sitting down opposite him. Your daddy. He lives very far away. He's a king in his own world. But he couldn't stay in ours. Is he a bad king? Leo asked, his dark eyes searching hers. Amara felt a lump in her throat. No, he's not bad. He's just lost. He thinks he doesn't have a son. I'll tell him, Leo said matter-of-factly. I'll draw him a map. Amara forced a smile, but inside, she was screaming. If Jae-Sun ever found the map to them, he wouldn't come with hugs. He would come with lawyers and soldiers. Meanwhile, 300 miles away, inside the glass-walled fortress of the Dragon Syndicate, Jae-Sun was looking at a map of his own. He stood by the window, staring down at the city he owned. He was wealthier now than he had ever been. His brother, Minho, had kept his head down, playing the role of the loyal subordinate, though Jae-Sun kept him at arm's length. Sir, his assistant, Mr. Kim, cleared his throat from the doorway. The acquisition of the Oakhaven lithium fields is stalling. The town council is refusing to sell the land for the refinery. They say it will ruin the local aesthetic. Jae-Sun turned. His face was a mask of indifference. The last 4 years had stripped away whatever warmth Amara had planted in him. He was colder now. Sharper. They want more money, Jae-Sun said, his voice flat. No, sir. They seem to be acting on principle. They're refusing to meet with our legal team. Jae-Sun buttoned his suit jacket. Principles are just price tags that haven't been negotiated yet. Prepare the convoy. I'm going personally. Sir? Mr. Kim looked nervous. It's a 3-hour drive. A storm is coming in. Maybe we should send Minho? Minho is a hammer, Jae-Sun said, walking past him. This requires a scalpel. And I am bored, Kim. I need to leave this city. The air in here. It's suffocating. He didn't say why it was suffocating. He didn't say that every time he walked past the office where he had fired Amara, he felt a phantom pain in his chest. He didn't say that he still woke up reaching for her. He convinced himself it was just wounded pride. He convinced himself he hated her. If you're watching this and shouting at the screen for Jae-Sun to realize the truth, hit that subscribe button right now. We're about to see what happens when fate forces two broken hearts back into the same room. The drive to Oakhaven was brutal. The sky turned a bruised purple, and the rain came down so hard the windshield wipers of the armored SUV could barely keep up. "This weather is insane," the driver muttered, gripping the wheel. "Boss, the bridge ahead might be washed out. We should turn back." In the back seat, Jae-Sun looked up from his tablet. "We don't turn back. Find a place to wait it out if you have to. I want to be in the council meeting by 9 a.m. tomorrow." "There's a light up ahead," the bodyguard in the passenger seat pointed. "Looks like a diner." "The pit stop." Jae-Sun sighed, rubbing his temples. A headache was building behind his eyes. "Fine. Pull over. I need coffee." Inside the pit stop, it was chaos. The storm had knocked out the power for a few seconds before the backup generator kicked in with a loud thrum thrum thrum. The lights flickered and buzzed. "Nia, order up on table 4. The cook yelled, slamming a plate of burgers onto the pass. "I'm coming, Earl. Keep your shirt on." Amara yelled back, wiping her hands on her apron. She was exhausted. Leo was sitting in the corner booth, coloring in a book, thank goodness. Her babysitter had canceled because of the storm, so she had to bring him to work. "Mama, I'm thirsty," Leo called out. "1 minute, baby," Amara said, balancing 3 plates on her arm. "Drink your water." She dropped the burgers at table 4, a group of truckers discussing the road closure. "You hear that?" One trucker said. "Some fancy convoy just rolled in. Black SUVs. Looked like the president or the mafia." Amara's blood ran cold. She stopped wiping the table. "What did you say?" "Big black cars," the trucker pointed out the window. "Just pulled into the lot." Amara looked. Through the rain-streaked glass, she saw them. 3 massive, blacked-out SUVs. They looked like sharks swimming through the storm. She knew those cars. She knew the crest on the grill. Panic. Pure, unadulterated panic seized her chest. "Earl!" she shouted, running to the kitchen. "I need to take my break." "No." "What?" "We're slammed." Earl shouted back. "I don't care. I feel sick." Amara didn't wait for an answer. She rushed to the corner booth. "Leo, baby, come on. We're going to the back." "But I'm not done coloring," Leo protested, holding up his crayon. "Leo, now." She grabbed his arm, harder than she meant to. He looked at her, startled by the fear in her voice. Before she could drag him to the kitchen, the front door chimed. The diner went quiet. It wasn't just the wind blowing in, it was the presence of the men who entered. 4 bodyguards in dark suits stepped in first, scanning the room. They looked out of place among the flannel shirts and muddy boots. Then he walked in. Jae-Sun shook the rain off his coat. He looked immaculate, even in the storm. His face was harder than Amara remembered, his jawline sharper, his eyes empty of light. Amara ducked behind the pie display case. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. "Please don't see me. Please just get coffee and leave." "Leo," she whispered frantically, "get under the table. We're playing hide and seek. Go." Leo, sensing the game, or the fear, scrambled under the booth. Jae-Sun walked to the counter. The teenage girl working the register popped her gum, staring at him with wide eyes. "Coffee. Black," Jae-Sun said. His voice. Hearing it again was like a physical blow to Amara. It was deep, commanding, and familiar. "Sure thing, mister," the girl stammered. "To go?" "For here. The storm is getting worse." Jae-Sun turned and looked for a seat. The only empty booth was the one right next to where Amara was hiding. The one right next to where Leo was hiding. Amara pressed her hand over her mouth. She was trapped. If she moved, he would see her. If she stayed, he would see her. Jae-Sun sat down. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through emails. He looked bored. He looked like a man who had everything and nothing. Under the table in the next booth, Leo dropped his crayon. It rolled. It rolled across the linoleum floor, past the divide, and bumped against Jae-Sun's polished Italian leather shoe. Jae-Sun paused. He looked down at the crayon. It was blue. He frowned. He leaned down to pick it up. At the same moment, Leo crawled out from under the table to retrieve it. They moved at the same time. Jae-Sun's hand brushed Leo's small fingers. Jae-Sun froze. He looked at the hand, then up the small arm, then at the face. Leo was staring at him. He wasn't scared. He was curious. He tilted his head to the side, a gesture that was so unconsciously identical to Jae-Sun's own habit that the bodyguards behind him gasped. That's mine, Leo said, pointing to the crayon. Jae-Sun didn't speak. He couldn't. He felt like the floor had just dropped out from under him. He was looking at a ghost. He was looking at a mirror. The eyes. The shape of the nose. The defiant set of the chin. Who are you? Jae-Sun whispered, his voice trembling for the first time in 4 years. I'm Leo, the boy said. Are you a bad king? Jae-Sun blinked, stunned. What? My mama says you're a king. But you look sad. Jae-Sun's heart stopped. Mama. Slowly, terrifyingly slowly, Jae-Sun lifted his eyes. He looked over the rim of the booth. Amara stood up. She had no choice. She looked like a warrior facing a firing squad. Her apron was dirty, her hair was messy, but her eyes were burning with a fierce, protective fire. Get away from my son, she said. Her voice rang out through the silent diner. Jae-Sun stood up. The chair screeched against the floor. Amara? He breathed. It wasn't anger. It was disbelief. It was a man waking up from a coma. I said, get away from him. Amara stepped between Jae-Sun and Leo, pushing the boy behind her legs. Jae-Sun pointed a shaking finger at the child. He is nothing to you, Amara hissed. You made that very clear 4 years ago. You're sterile, remember? You have a doctor's note. So turn around, get in your expensive car, and leave us alone. The diner was deadly silent. The truckers were watching. Earl was watching from the kitchen window with a frying pan in his hand. Jae-Sun didn't hear her insults. He was doing the math. For years. The face. The eyes. The connection he felt in his gut, a pull stronger than gravity. He is mine, Jae-Sun said. It wasn't a question. It was a realization that shattered his reality. He is mine. Amara shouted, tears finally spilling over. I raised him. I fed him. I held him when he cried. You threw us out like garbage. I didn't know. Jae-Sun shouted back, his composure snapping. I was told it was impossible. I was told you were lying. And you believed a piece of paper over the woman you slept with? Amara cried. You believed your brother over me? The mention of the brother hung in the air. Jae-Sun stiffened. My brother? What does Minho have to do with this? He was watching Jae-Sun, Amara said bitterly. That day in your office. When I walked out, he was outside. He was smiling. He knew. Jae-Sun's face went pale. The pieces of the puzzle, the sudden diagnosis, the convenient timing, Minho's eagerness to take over the family business, suddenly clicked into place. The betrayal hit him harder than the bullet had years ago. He looked at Leo again. The boy was peeking out from behind Amara's leg, looking at Jae-Sun with cautious fascination. I need to know, Jae-Sun said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. I need to be certain. He turned to his lead bodyguard. Lock the doors. No one leaves. You can't do that. Amara screamed. This is a public place. I just bought the place, Jae-Sun snapped, pulling out his black card and slamming it on the counter. I'm buying the whole damn town if I have to. Nobody moves until I get a DNA test. You are crazy, Amara backed away, clutching Leo. I am a father who just found out his life was stolen, Jae-Sun said, his eyes burning with intensity. If he is mine, Amara. If you hid my heir from me, you hid yourself, she retorted. Jae-Sun pulled out his phone. He didn't call Minho. He called his private medical team in the city. Get a chopper in the air. Now. Aim at the coordinates I'm sending. Bring a paternity kit. And bring guns. He hung up and looked at Amara. The air between them crackled with electricity. It was hate. It was love. It was 4 years of agony compressed into a single moment. We wait, Jae-Sun said, sitting back down in the booth, blocking the exit. Sit down, Amara. Tell me everything. But before Amara could sit, her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. It was a restricted number. She hesitated, then answered. Hello? Did you really think I stopped watching? Amara's blood turned to ice. It was Minho. I see his car outside the diner, Amara. Minho's voice was smooth, like oil. I see you found each other. That's unfortunate. I really hoped I wouldn't have to kill my own brother. But you've left me no choice. What? Amara gasped. Look out the window, sweetheart. Amara looked. On the ridge overlooking the diner, through the pouring rain, she saw a flash of light. A scope. Get down. Amara screamed, tackling Jae-Sun just as the glass window exploded. Crash. The bullet buried itself in the upholstery right where Jae-Sun's head had been a second ago. Chaos erupted. The bodyguards drew weapons. The truckers dove under tables. Leo screamed. "They're here!" Amara yelled, dragging Jae-Sun to the floor. "Minho is here." Jae-Sun looked at the shattered window, then at Amara lying on top of him, protecting him even after everything he had done to her. A rage darker and deeper than anything he had ever felt woke up inside the dragon. "He dares," Jae-Sun growled, his hand finding a piece of broken glass. "He dares to hunt my family." He looked at Leo, who was crying under the table. "Stay down," Jae-Sun commanded, his voice changing. He wasn't the sad businessman anymore. He was the Mafia Don. "Nobody touches my son. If you are on the edge of your seat, smash that like button." We are heading into the climax, and trust me, you do not want to miss how Jae-Sun unleashes hell on the people who tried to destroy his family. "Kim," Jae-Sun shouted to his head guard. "Secure the boy. Give me a weapon." "Boss, we're surrounded." Kim yelled back, firing a shot through the broken window. Heat signatures in the woods. At least 20 of them. Amara crawled over to Leo, shielding his body with hers. "Jae-Sun, there's a back exit through the kitchen." "We aren't running," Jae-Sun said, racking the slide of the pistol Kim slid across the floor to him. He looked at Amara. For a split second, the anger vanished, replaced by a look of profound regret. "I will fix this," he promised her. "I will burn the world down to fix this." The front door of the diner was kicked open. A smoke grenade rolled in. The war for the air had begun. The smoke canister hissed, spinning across the checkerboard floor, spewing a thick, gray cloud that smelled of sulfur and death. "Can't see. I can't see." One of the truckers screamed, coughing violently. "Nobody move." Jae-Sun roared, his voice cutting through the panic. He grabbed a wet rag from a table and shoved it into Amara's hand. "Cover Leo's mouth. Stay low." "The freezer." Amara choked out, her eyes streaming. "The walk-in freezer in the back. It's steel. It's bulletproof. Go." Jae-Sun commanded, firing 2 shots blindly into the smoke towards the entrance where shadows were moving. "Kim, cover the hallway. I'll cover the rear." Amara scooped Leo up. He was heavy, terrified, burying his face in her neck. She ran. She ran through the kitchen she had scrubbed clean 1,000 times, slipping on spilled grease and broken plates. Bullets chewed up the drywall around them. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Utensils flew off the magnetic racks. It was a nightmare. This was her diner. This was where she made pancakes. Now it was a war zone. She reached the heavy steel door of the walk-in freezer. She yanked the handle. "Get in," she shouted to Earl, the cook, who was cowering behind the deep fryer. Earl scrambled inside. Amara threw Leo in after him. "Mama," Leo screamed, reaching for her. "Stay with Earl, baby. I'm coming." Amara turned back. Jae-Sun wasn't behind her. He was still in the dining room. Through the swinging kitchen doors, she saw him. He had overturned a heavy oak table and was using it for cover. He wasn't hiding, though. He was drawing their fire. Every time a mercenary moved, Jae-Sun popped up, firing with a precision that was terrifying to watch. He wasn't a businessman. In this moment, he was pure violence. But there were too many of them. A mercenary kicked through the side door, the delivery entrance. He was right behind Jae-Sun. He raised a shotgun. "Jae-Sun, behind you." Amara screamed, grabbing a heavy cast-iron skillet from the stove. She didn't think. She just reacted. She threw the skillet with all her strength. It spun through the air and cracked against the mercenary's helmet with a sickening clang. The man stumbled, his shot going wide, blowing a hole in the ceiling. Jae-Sun spun around. He saw the man. He saw Amara standing there, exposed. "Amara, get back." He didn't wait. He launched himself across the room, tackling the mercenary. They crashed into the prep counter. It was brutal. Fists, elbows, knees. Jae-Sun fought like a demon, disarming the man and knocking him unconscious with the butt of his own gun. But the distraction cost him. From the smoke-filled dining room, another shooter took aim. Jae-Sun saw the barrel. He saw the line of fire. It wasn't aimed at him. It was aimed at the kitchen door. At Amara. He didn't hesitate. He didn't think about his empire, or his money, or his pride. He threw himself into the doorway, spreading his arms wide just as the trigger clicked. Bang. The sound was louder than the others. It was wet. Jae-Sun jerked back, his body slamming against Amara. They both tumbled into the walk-in freezer. Amara scrambled backward on the cold metal floor, her hands slick with something warm. Red. Jae-Sun? She gasped. He was lying against a stack of frozen beef boxes. His hand was pressed to his shoulder. Dark blood was pulsing between his fingers, staining his crisp white shirt, ruining the silk, ruining everything. Close. The door, he wheezed, his face turning an ashy gray. Amara slammed the heavy steel door shut and threw the latch. The noise of the gunfight instantly became muffled, distant. Inside, the only sound was the hum of the cooling fans and Leo's soft sobbing. "Daddy?" Leo whispered from the corner, his eyes wide. Jae-Sun turned his head. He looked at the boy. He smiled, his teeth stained with red. "I'm okay, Leo. Just a scratch." "You're not okay," Amara cried, ripping her apron off to press it against the wound. "You took that bullet for me. Why did you do that? You hate me." Jae-Sun reached up with his good hand. His fingers, cold and trembling, brushed her cheek. "I never hated you," he whispered, his strength fading fast. "I hated the pain of losing you. I thought you betrayed me. I was a fool." "Don't talk," Amara sobbed, applying pressure. "Just breathe. Please, Jae-Sun, don't you die on me. Not now. Not when we just fixed this." "If I die," he rasped, gripping her wrist, "Minho gets nothing. The will. It's in my safe. My DNA is in Leo. He is the king now. You are the queen regent. Protect him." "Shut up," Amara yelled, angry tears falling onto his face. "You are not dying. You are going to live, and you are going to grovel, you hear me? You are going to spend the rest of your life making this up to us." The lights in the freezer flickered. Outside, the gunfire stopped. Silence. Amara held her breath. Had Minho won? Were they waiting outside the door to execute them? Then a voice boomed through the steel door. But it wasn't a mercenary. It was a deep, amplified voice over a loudspeaker. "This is the state police. Drop your weapons. We have the building surrounded." And then another sound. The chopping rhythm of helicopter blades shaking the roof. Jae-Sun's backup had arrived. The freezer door handle turned. Amara grabbed a frozen leg of lamb, holding it like a club. She stood in front of Jae-Sun and Leo. She would fight the devil himself if she had to. The door swung open. It was Kim, the head bodyguard. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead, but he was alive. Behind him were SWAT officers in tactical gear. "Boss," Kim shouted, seeing Jae-Sun on the floor. "Medic. We need a medic in here. The dragon is down." As the paramedics rushed in, swarming over Jae-Sun, lifting him onto a stretcher, he refused to let go of Amara's hand. "Minho," Jae-Sun grunted to Kim, fighting the darkness closing in on his vision. "Where is my brother?" Kim's face was grim. "We caught him trying to flee through the woods, sir. The police have him in custody. He's done." Jae-Sun let out a long breath. He looked at Amara one last time before the morphine took hold. "It's over," he whispered. And then his eyes closed. "If your heart just skipped a beat, you are not alone." That was intense. Before we see if Jae-Sun survives and if he can ever truly earn Amara's forgiveness, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss the end of a story. Now let's head to the hospital, where the real battle, the battle for forgiveness, is about to begin. 3 days later, the private wing of St. Jude's Hospital was quiet. It smelled of lavender and expensive cleaning products, not bleach. Amara sat in the chair beside the bed. She hadn't gone home. She hadn't changed her clothes, though someone had brought her a clean sweater. She just sat there, watching the monitor beep. 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 Leo was asleep on a cot in the corner, clutching a teddy bear that one of the nurses had given him. Jae-Sun stirred. Amara stiffened. She leaned forward. "Jae-Sun?" His eyelids fluttered. Slowly, they opened. He blinked against the harsh light. He looked around, confused, until his gaze landed on her. "Amara," he croaked. His voice was rough, like he had swallowed gravel. "Here," she said, holding a straw to his lips. "Drink." He drank. Then he looked at his shoulder, heavily bandaged. Then he looked back at her. The memories came flooding back. The diner. The gunfight. The truth. "Minho?" he asked. "In jail," Amara said flatly. "No bail. Your lawyers say he's looking at life for attempted murder, conspiracy, and about 20 other things. He's finished, Jae-Sun." Jae-Sun closed his eyes for a moment. "And the test?" Amara reached into her bag. She pulled out a crisp white envelope. It was sealed with the hospital's official stamp. She placed it on his chest. "Open it," she said. Jae-Sun tried to lift his arm, wincing. He tore the envelope open with his teeth. He pulled out the paper. Probability of paternity, 99.9998%. He stared at the number. He stared at it until the numbers blurred together. A tear, hot and solitary, escaped his eye and tracked into his hairline. "He's mine," he whispered. "He's really mine." "Yes," Amara said, crossing her arms. She wasn't making this easy for him. She couldn't. "He is the son you rejected. He is the son you let starve for 4 years while you sat in your ivory tower." Jae-Sun flinched. The physical pain of the bullet was nothing compared to the shame that was washing over him now. "I didn't know," he said again, but it sounded weak even to his own ears. "You should have checked," Amara said, her voice trembling with suppressed rage. "You're the head of the Dragon Syndicate. You have spies everywhere. You can find a man in a hole on the other side of the world. But you couldn't be bothered to verify if the woman you claimed to love was telling the truth? You just took your brother's word and threw me away?" "I was scared," Jae-Sun admitted. It was the first time he had ever said those words out loud. "I was scared that you didn't love me, that you only loved the money. When Minho told me I was sterile, it felt like confirmation of my worst fear. That I was unlovable. That I was just a wallet to you. You idiot." Amara wiped a tear from her cheek. "I lived in a trailer park for 4 years. I scrubbed floors. I didn't take a dime of your hush money. Does that look like a gold digger to you?" "No," Jae-Sun said softly. "It looks like a queen." He tried to sit up, groaning in pain. "Don't move," Amara scolded, instinctively reaching out to steady him. I need to see him," Jae-Sun said, looking past her to the sleeping boy. "He's sleeping. Please." Amara hesitated. She looked at the man in the bed. He looked smaller without his suit. He looked human. He looked broken. She sighed. "Leo," she called out softly. "Leo, baby, wake up." Leo stirred, rubbing his eyes. He sat up, his hair sticking up in tufts. He saw Jae-Sun awake. "Mr. King?" Leo asked sleepily. Jae-Sun's heart shattered. "No," he choked out. "Not Mr. King. Leo, come here." Leo looked at his mom. Amara nodded. Leo slid off the cot and walked to the bedside. He was so small next to the machinery. He reached out and touched the bandage on Jae-Sun's shoulder. "Does it hurt?" Leo asked. "A little," Jae-Sun said. "But it was worth it. I would do it again." Leo frowned. "Why did the bad men want to hurt us?" "Because," Jae-Sun said, struggling to keep his voice steady, "they knew that you were very special. And they were jealous." He reached out his good hand. His large, calloused hand trembled as it hovered near Leo's face. He looked at Amara for permission. She nodded again, biting her lip. Jae-Sun cupped his son's cheek. The skin was soft, warm. It was real. This wasn't a dream. This was his legacy. This was his blood. "Leo," Jae-Sun said, tears flowing freely now. "I am so sorry I was late. I got lost. But I'm here now. And I am never, ever going to leave you again." "Are you my daddy?" Leo asked, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. Jae-Sun sobbed. A racking, ugly sound that shook his whole body. "Yes. Yes, Leo. I am your daddy." Leo thought about this for a second. Then he smiled. It was a bright, toothy smile that lit up the sterile room. "Okay," Leo said. "But you owe me a lot of birthdays." Jae-Sun laughed through his tears. "I do. I owe you 4 birthdays. And 4 Christmases. I will buy you a toy store. I will buy you an island." "I just want a puppy," Leo said. "Done," Jae-Sun said instantly. 10 puppies. Amara watched them. She felt the ice around her heart cracking. She wanted to hate him. She wanted to punish him for the years of struggle. But seeing them together, it was like 2 halves of a magnet finally snapping into place. "Amara," Jae-Sun turned his gaze to her. The laughter faded. His eyes were serious, pleading. "I know I can't buy my way out of this with you. I know I broke something that can't be easily fixed." He took a breath. "But I am begging you. Give me a chance. Not to be your husband, I haven't earned that yet. But let me be his father. Let me protect you. Let me move you out of that trailer. Come back to the city. Come home." Amara looked at him. She looked at her son, who was currently inspecting the buttons on the hospital bed railing. "I'm not coming back as your mistress, Jae-Sun," she said firmly. "And I'm not coming back as your secret." "No," Jae-Sun said fiercely. "Never again. If you come back, Everyone will know. The world will know. He pressed the button to call his assistant. Mr. Kim appeared in the doorway almost instantly, looking relieved to see his boss awake. Sir? Kim, Jae-Sun said, his voice regaining some of its old steel. Call the press. Organize a press conference for next week. The Grand Hall. What is the topic, sir? Kim asked, clicking his pen. Jae-Sun looked at Amara, holding her gaze. The topic is the future of the Dragon Syndicate, Jae-Sun said. I am introducing my heir. And I am introducing the woman who saved the king. Amara felt a blush creep up her neck. I haven't said yes yet. Jae-Sun smiled, a genuine, tired, hopeful smile. I know, but I'm a good negotiator. I have a feeling I can convince you. He patted the spot on the bed next to him. Sit? Just for a minute? My neck hurts looking up at you. Amara rolled her eyes, but she sat. She sat on the edge of the bed. Jae-Sun moved his hand, inching it toward hers until their pinkies brushed. She didn't pull away. It wasn't a happily ever after yet. They had scars. They had trauma. They had 4 years of silence to fill. But as Leo climbed up to sit between them, demanding a story about the bad guys getting smushed, Amara knew one thing. They were a family. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't have to run. But the story doesn't end in a hospital room. Oh no. The real victory is seeing the world bow down. 6 months later, the Grand Hall of the Dragon Hotel was glittering with crystal chandeliers and flashing cameras. Every major crime boss, politician, and business tycoon in the city was there. The whispers were deafening. Is it true? The brother is in prison? They say he has a son. A secret son. Who is the mother? The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the top of the grand staircase. Music swelled, traditional Korean drums mixed with a modern orchestral beat. Ladies and gentlemen, the announcer's voice boomed. Please rise for the head of the Dragon family, Chairman Jae-Sun. The double doors at the top of the stairs opened. Jae-Sun stepped out. He looked magnificent in a black tuxedo, his shoulder fully healed, his posture regal. But he didn't walk down alone. He extended his arm. Stepping out from the shadows was Amara. She wasn't wearing a waitress apron. She was wearing a gown of liquid gold that hugged every curve, trailing behind her like a river of fire. Her hair was piled high, adorned with a hairpin that was a priceless family heirloom, the phoenix of the Dragon clan. She looked radiant. She looked powerful. She looked terrified, but she held her head high. And holding her other hand, walking between them, was Leo. He was wearing a miniature tuxedo. He looked at the crowd of hundreds of people. He didn't hide. He didn't cry. He looked at them with the same intense, obsidian eyes as his father. A hush fell over the room. Jae-Sun walked them down the stairs. Step by step. Every eye was on them. When they reached the bottom, Jae-Sun led them to the microphone. He looked at the crowd. He looked at the cameras that were broadcasting this live to the world. He put his hand on Leo's shoulder. For years, Jae-Sun spoke, his voice echoing through the hall. My family was built on lies. My brother tried to steal my future because of greed. He told me I had no legacy. He picked Leo up, holding him high for everyone to see. He was wrong. Jae-Sun looked at Amara. He reached out and pulled her close to his side, kissing her hand in front of everyone. This is Amara, the woman who saved my life. And this is Leo, my son, my blood, my heir. He looked out at the room, his eyes daring anyone to challenge him. From this day forward, they are untouchable. You bow to me, you bow to them. For a second, there was silence. Then, the oldest man in the room, the grandfather of a rival clan, stepped forward. He looked at Leo. He looked at Amara. Slowly, respectfully, the old man bowed. Then the man next to him bowed. Then the politicians. Then the tycoons. One by one, like dominoes, the entire room lowered their heads in respect to the waitress and the secret prince. Amara looked at Jae-Sun. He winked at her. She squeezed his hand. She looked out at the sea of people bowing to her son. She thought about the trailer park. She thought about the tips she used to count to buy diapers. She thought about the cold nights. She smiled. She had walked through fire. She had survived the storm. And now? Now she was the queen. What a journey. From a back alley rescue to a motel berth, and finally, to the throne of the underworld. Amara and Jae-Sun's story proves that sometimes, Love really is worth fighting for, and that the truth always comes out in the end. If you love this story, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend who loves a good romance. And don't forget to subscribe. We have so many more twisted, emotional, and romantic stories coming your way. Let me know in the comments, do you think Amara forgave him too easily? Or would you have made him grovel for another year? I'll be reading your replies. Until next time, keep watching.